On this episode of The Nursing Home Operator, I sit down with Jake Larson, a regional vice president of operations, former administrator, and the guy who trained me when I first got into the industry. That's right, Jake Larson is my preceptor. We talk about the transition from administrator to regional, the biggest mistakes new leaders make, what Jake looks for when hiring administrators, and why being an absolute dog might be the most important trait in nursing home leadership. Along the way, we get into golf, ridiculous administrator phone calls, Christmas parties, building culture, and the kind of leadership that makes people want to run through a wall for you. If you've ever wondered what separates good operators from great operators, you're going to enjoy this conversation because I sat down with a great one. Let's get into it.
I feel like I'm in like a doctor's office and you're about to like connect me to the machine or something. I don't know if we have time for a little story, but in the clubhouse. I'm in the clubhouse. I check in and they kind of had a player lounge right around the side. And I turn the corner and I like run straight into this guy. I'm like, oh, hey, sorry, man. And he's like, no problem. I look up. Guess who it was? Travis Kelce.
Are you serious?
Chiefs. Yeah. So then I just said, hey, what's up? And then anyway, we carry on. I go out to the range and I'm right next to him.
Yeah.
Just on the range, just hitting balls.
Yeah.
Then I take a phone call and I'm sitting on like a bench, kind of, a few feet back from the spots where he hit. And I hear the froggy voice of Patrick Mahomes. So he came up. So they played together. They played right in front of us.
What?
Yeah.
Dude, that is sick.
So it was fun, but yeah. And then, so playing right in front of us, Patrick was pretty stoked. There was like, I can't remember, maybe like 6-7 holes in, they found this massive snake, like a big sucker, like thick and maybe 5 feet. And he was like stoked. He like waited to show us because he thought it was cool. So it was cool.
That is sick. Dude, yeah. I feel like whenever I meet like super like famous people and you see that they're just people, I'm always just like a little bit like, oh, okay, that could happen. Like that's within the realm of possibility.
I will say, I don't know if they're going to watch this, but Kelce was a little standoffish. Patrick Mahomes was like super nice, super genuine. He was calling the staff by their name, like, thanking them,
Yeah.
So, and after the round on the range was Josh Allen from the Bills.
So if you want to meet famous football players,
Pelican Hill. Go to
Pelican Hill. All
yeah,
right,
I heard that Juju Smith-Schuster had a wedding that night, like at the Ritz down the road or whatever, and so they all were in town for that. So
dang, dude, that's sick.
But yeah, go to Pelican Hill. So yeah, it was good golf, good experience, good weather, all of it was great.
Well, I doubt that Patrick Mahomes is going to listen to this podcast. I think you never know. I don't want to put him in a box here, right? But I think my first episode we had a whole 10 people listen, and I think 2 of those were me. And then my second episode we actually bumped up to 35. So
really.
Yeah.
So were they stateside? Because I did a podcast once and most of my listeners were from like the Ukraine or something.
Yeah. Well, so they're all stateside. Yeah. These are all domestic views. So
nice, dude. Nice. That's huge. Yeah.
Yeah. No, we're bumping up. Haven't published the 3rd episode and this will be the 4th episode. So at that point, we might be up to, if we keep going up it, like with this, like 3x every time, that puts us like probably like 500 people will see this episode.
Nice, man.
Yeah. Dude, let me jump in to just a couple of, I think, like really important questions that the people want to know. So first off, you're a regional vice president of operations. You spend some time hiring administrators who run nursing homes, and you also like to golf. So here's my question. If you're out golfing with an administrator, and they're just a candidate, you're like kind of just like feeling it if you want to hire them. And they just, out of the first tee box, they just shank it. Just far, what's a slice? Far right.
Slice.
Yeah. And they lose their footing. They fall over. And then they just get up and act. First shot. How much does that hurt his chances of getting hired by you?
Not very much. I don't think it hurts his chances. see how he rebounds on the next shot and the next hole and the next 9, I guess. I don't necessarily think, I like if administrators are good golfers, because then it's like we get after it, we work really hard, we like to celebrate, we like to reward, and if we can do that through golf, that's my,
That's
that's
your
my
ideal
go-to.
outlet.
That's my ideal, hey, you had a killer month, let's go hit up this nice, let's get on this country club somehow and go play around. So yeah, but not a deal breaker, no.
Another question that I'm sure the people at home are really interested to hear about is who was your favorite AIT that you have ever trained?
Probably you.
I wasn't expecting that. Obviously, that's not what I was looking for. That kind of felt like a leading question, but no, I mean, hey, it's nice of you to say. I had no idea you were going to say that. But anyway, we'll move on to the next one. But I just wanted it there. And
shout out to you.
Shouts out to me. No, okay. So for the people at home, Jake Larson was also my preceptor, and I will just say that
years ago,
Jake, years ago, specifically 2 years ago, actually, almost to the day. But I will say that one thing, Jake completely set me up for a rude awakening, because when I went to his building and was his AIT, which is basically just like 4 to 5 months of me following you around the whole time and asking you questions, the building was like perfectly run, and like I didn't even see any issues coming up. There were no like big like employee issues or anything like that. And so I was coming from out of industry, and so I just thought that was how it was a building was just run like that. Anyway, I went into my first building, and the first thing that happened to me was there was a huge payroll issue. And so I had like a ton of angry employees coming in and like just like screaming at me the entire time. And it made me realize that, you know what, not all nursing homes are created equal. Some of them are going through some challenges, others are not. So thank you to Jake for setting me up on that one. There's no question on that. I just wanted that out in the universe.
You're welcome. And yeah, the building at the time that we were together was running pretty well. And that is the anomaly, right?
Yeah.
That doesn't happen very often. Usually you got obstacles, pain points regularly. So we were in a good spot for a while.
We were in a great spot. You're being modest. We were in a great spot.
We were in a decent spot. Yeah.
We were in a great spot. Yeah. Jake, tell me about how you ended up getting into nursing home administration in the first place.
How much time can you allocate to this story? Because I can give you the short version and the long version.
Give me the 2 to 3 minute version.
So I was going to, I think the U at the time. I was studying like pre-med. I got into some job that was like, experience that would count toward your application to med school and all that. And I kind of moved into some operational role in that job. And I thought, man, I like operations. It's kind of a healthcare field. I like helping people, I like doing both things. Don't know if I want to do something that's like solely patient facing. I kind of like the back office stuff. And so coincidentally at the time, I was dating a girl, not married, dating a girl whose stepdad was an new administrator in California, San Clemente, California. So I'm like, well, let's go check it out and see what it's all about. Went out to his building, shadowed him. It was a new acquisition. So what you saw at Spanish Fort, not the case in this building.
Not the case.
Chaotic, employee chaotic, resident chaotic, a lot of fires that had to be put out regularly. But I thought, I like this. Like, I like the chaos. I like that you do this and then you pivot in that, kind of back and forth. So I got my master's degree because at the time I thought that's going to boost myself as a candidate. It's going to bump my resume maybe to the top. Got my master's, I accelerated it, and then I just cold called every skilled nursing company building. I went in every building. I ended up getting connected with a recruiter who was a former admin, and she was like, okay, I like you. And she moved me along to the next guy, and he was like, yeah, okay, I like you. Next guy, after 20 interviews, they're like, all right, we're gonna hire you as an AIT, and then the rest is history, right? So that's how.
What it sounds like is it was just all about the girl, right? The girl got you into
she still says that. I'm married to her now, 2 kids, and the other day she made a comment of like, out of the blue, she's like, do you really think that like we would be where we are if like it weren't for me? Basically is what she said.
Yeah.
And I gotta say, I gotta give her credit because maybe not, right? Probably
Hey,
not.
shouts out to your wife. Yeah, I feel like my wife says the same thing. I got into nursing home administration because my wife's uncle was a regional and
Hmm.
had that experience, and so I called him up and said, what's it like? And he's like, well, if you're really interested, then go into a nursing home and ask to speak to the administrator and see where
Hmm.
that takes you. And
Hmm.
the very first phone call happened to be to the president of the company and had an AIT lined up, I think, like 2 weeks later. So
Hmm.
different situation, it
Yours is
sounds like.
quicker than mine. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Mine
for
was
sure.
quick, yeah.
Very quick. So you were a better candidate than I was. I had to go through like layers.
I think divine intervention was just throwing me a bone because I'd just been like absolutely spinning my wheels for a while then. So
Hmm.
I think that may have been what happened, but
Paid off.
it paid off. It paid off. Now you're a regional. And I think like most administrators have the goal to be a regional. Like a regional, instead of, running one building, you oversee many buildings. What's been the biggest adjustment going from being an administrator to being a regional?
Sorry, say that again. The biggest difference?
What's been the biggest adjustment for you? Like if for all the administrators listening at home, I think that their goal is to get into that position. But
Yeah.
what's been kind of the biggest growing pain?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's not so much now. I've been in my role for almost 2 years now. So it's not
Yeah.
so much now, but I remember before, because the administrators that I work with, I have all ranges of experience. One has 12
Yeah.
years in the same building. One is a fairly new admin, 2 years. One was a brand new, fresh AIT. Like there's just varying degrees
Yeah.
of experience. And the
Yeah.
biggest, I guess, challenge for me at the beginning was to accept that the way I felt like a building should be ran wasn't the only right way. Because
Yeah.
you know, a big part of what I do and what what I like to do is be in the details, right? So when you have 6, 8, 10 buildings, it's hard to be into every detail. So you trust, right, the administrator to run the building, and everybody does it differently. Everybody has a different way of doing it with their staff, with their residents, with admissions and marketing, with just how they approach problems. And so understanding, realizing, and accepting that the way I do it is not the only right way, and these guys can still be successful doing it the way they do it. That was probably the biggest leap I guess I had to make right there at the beginning.
I felt like you had a balanced approach, right? You were very much interested in, good clinical outcomes. You were interested in good financial outcomes. Like I felt like you built the culture up. And so it kind of feels like that is kind of a style where it should fit everybody. And so
Hmm.
what are kind of the styles that you're seeing that were different from your approach that work but are different from how you would do it?
Yeah, I mean, I think I've seen some that are like, more of the aggressive entrepreneurial mindset, maybe a younger guy fresh off
Yeah.
AAT that's like, I'm going to drive the heck out of census. I'm going to
Yeah.
maximize case mix. Like, we're going to make it happen. And then the team's going to follow and grow with the building growth. And then you have maybe another tenured vet who's like, no, I don't want to stress my team out too much. I'm going to get the pieces in place first before I grow.
Yeah.
Maybe it's the cart is all constructed before the horse pulls it. And in
Yeah.
some cases, a newer AIT hungry entrepreneur is like, no, this horse is running. Like, we'll build the cart as we go.
Yeah.
So those are, and they both can work. You have
Yeah.
pain points being a little more cautious. You have pain points from being a little more aggressive. They
Yeah.
both work.
Yeah,
So,
you definitely described my first building. I oftentimes said to my wife when I was running that first building that it felt like I was just the Mad Hatter. I was driving
hmm.
this carriage. It was on fire the whole time.
Hmm.
I kept telling the horses to keep going, right? I
Hmm.
was leading the whole thing and it was just absolute chaos. And
Hmm.
you learn a ton, right?
Hmm.
You learn a ton when you do it, but there's probably a less painful way to do it. And
A
I'm
little
I'm
more
open
strategic way
to,
to do it. Yeah.
yeah, like a more strategic way to do it. There's probably less turnover in that regard as well because I
Yeah.
I burned through probably 80% of my management team in 3 months and they probably all had good reasons for leaving. But
Sure.
it did work. So
Sure. Yep.
eventually we got to where we were trying to go. So, what's something you didn't realize that you'd miss about being an administrator until you became a regional?
when I took the role, it was kind of like middle of the night phone call, like, hey, we have a building in crisis, like we need you there tomorrow. I was really embedded with my team. There's a lot of people on the team I cared about, the residents I cared about. Like, you get attached to a building. If I think if you're doing the role for the right reasons, you get attached to the building in one way or another. And that was hard. But then I thought, I'm going to miss being, being as connected to the residents and the staff as yours an administrator. A lot of times you're with the staff and the residents more than your family, right?
Yeah.
And so you just develop a bond there. And so I thought I'll miss that. But then I got into the role, and my office is out of one of our facilities.
Okay.
And I was able to kind of build that same thing with the staff, not from an administrator standpoint, but I built some of the same relationships with the staff. I built some of the same relationships with the residents, a lot of the residents. And then as I travel to the other facilities in other parts of the state, I have the opportunity to do that with the staff and with the residents of those buildings. So that was one thing I anticipated, like maybe missing out on, that I ended up not. I ended up being able to still have that piece to it. So I don't think there's anything that I missed. I guess maybe here's one. I threw a wicked Christmas party. I think you were gone by the time we had ours. Were you there? You were there.
I was gone. No, I was gone.
You were gone. Okay.
Yeah.
I just that's one thing I'll toot my horn about. I throw a wicked holiday party. So, and in a kind of a VP type role, I'll celebrate with our administrators, and we'll do a retreat, we'll go golf, we'll go, hit up a California golf trip or a Vegas golf trip or something, but not just like the CNA, nurses, dietary staff, housekeeping staff, IDT, Christmas party, just vibing in the basement, raffling stuff off, having food, like gift exchange. I just don't do that now because I don't have just that core team to do it with. So that's one thing I miss.
Yeah. Do you have to, because I think your style is still I would imagine you're still very much connected, right? Like I think one of the things that I notice is like you live in those details, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you have to be more intentional about getting to know staff? Because it sounds like you still have that relationship, right? Even though you're regional. And I think that would be a little bit more on the rare side, right? Of regionals having that connection. Are you more intentional with it than most regionals, would you say?
I would say yes and no. Because I would say yes, intentional, because there are multiple facilities. So there's not only 50 or 75 residents. Now there's, I think, we're up to 700 or so.
Yeah.
I'm not going to get to know all of them. So that's where maybe the intentional piece comes in. But then on the other side, at least for me, one of the reasons I do it is for the residents. And so maybe that comes naturally when I'm in the building and I see a resident. I don't have to consciously think I better talk to this resident. It's part of my role. I need to, save face here. It's more of just a natural, wanting to get to know residents or helping them out to the smoking area or, answering their call light and seeing what they need. I think that's more just a natural thing. So I would, if I had to put an answer to it, I would say no, it doesn't take an intentional effort to do that.
It just flows from within.
It flows. Yeah.
I think, to be honest, I think that speaks more about you, you and your character versus the role. I'm just imagining your role now and thinking about I think I had a conversation with one of just the senior leaders of one of these skilled nursing operators, and he was just getting heavy phone call after heavy phone call, right? Everybody calls you when things go terribly wrong. What's the most ridiculous phone call that you've gotten as a regional? What was one thing where you just remember answering that phone and you're like, what universe am I in right now that this is happening?
I had a phone call. I can think of two. I'll share one. Another one was a serious, just a horrible situation that happened to a resident that was how is this happening? But the other one was, so states in the building, for an array of reasons, they needed to leave. So that was a Thursday. And then a Saturday night into Sunday morning, 3 a.m., I get a call. Hey, fire suppression system failed.
Oh no!
Flooded the building because there was a leak and the suppression system failed. Flooded the building and no suppression system, so we have to go into fire watch. And we're dang, we're expecting the survey to come back in 24 hours. Anyway, I wasn't there. This is a remote facility. I kind of flew back for the weekend. I was going to go back out, and so get it cleaned up. get a company out there, middle of the night. They kind of identify the holes. They update it that day, like later that day. They fix everything. We get pressure restored to the system. We come off fire watch. We get everything cleaned up. It's like a 24-hour straight effort. And then the next morning, survey shows up, and it was like nothing happened. They had no idea that anything had happened. But at the time, it was like, okay, flooding, suppression system failed. Who knows how long that's going to take? We got to, like, or we have to move residents, or is stuff damaged, either equipment or resident belongings. Surveys coming in less than 24 hours, like, holy cow. And then it ended up like working out. So at the time, getting that call, I'm like, this is like, oh, and the administrator had a baby that next day. Maybe it was 2 days later, like the day the surveyors came in.
Oh, so, man, when it rains, it pours. That is,
that was pretty, I'm trying to think of just like jaw dropping. That was probably the most like, oh crap, just because of the circumstance. You know, those things happen. Skilled nursing facilities, a lot of them are old, and those things happen, but just the timing with the baby, survey, all things considered, it was kind of brutal. But that was an eye opener.
Dude, did I tell you, speaking of babies, did I tell you I had a baby 3 weeks ago?
Baby number 2.
Baby number 2, yeah. Did
Pretty
I tell
much
you
2
that?
years apart, right? Didn't you have the baby in like August or September of last year?
Yeah.
Or I mean, of 2 years ago?
Yep. Baby number 1, her birthday is August 20th. So like we're pretty darn close to 2 years. 2 years apart.
And baby number 2 is July, what day?
July 25th.
5th. July 25th. Oh, you're having a baby. You haven't had the baby.
No, sorry. June 25th.
June 25th. Okay. I had a girl on June. Wait, no, I had a boy on June 6th. He's 4 now.
On June 6th.
Yeah,
Man,
he's 4.
That's crazy.
But we also, after you left, we had a girl. She's 1.5 years now. She had a boy girl.
That's wild. That's wild to think. Jeez.
So it's crazy. Boy, is yours boy or girl?
Boy.
Second one.
Yeah, we just had a boy. So now we got a girl and we got a boy.
Nice.
It's something. It's something. But anyway, I didn't mean to digress, but we're in like our survey window, and we are kind of expecting them in like any day now. But 3 weeks ago, I really thought that like baby was coming, same day survey was coming, and it ended up, the stars didn't align on that. Thank goodness. But it brought that up for me.
Back in April, or I want to say, I had an administrator whose same thing, wife was due like 3 or 4 weeks after the fact, and then Monday comes, survey shows up. He gets a call 3 hours later from his wife that says, "Hey, I'm going into labor. I'm headed to the hospital." He ducks out, and I just ran the survey for him. We only got like 3 tags, which was great, but
amazing. Yeah. Going back to phone calls, because I feel like that's probably a large part of your day. What's something that administrators call you freaking out about, that you've been doing this so long that like you kind of just think actually like that's not really that big of a deal?
Ombudsman related stuff.
Yeah.
Like, oh, the ombudsman is here, and this guy, this Medicaid resident, he's like demanding a private room, and he's called the ombudsman 4 times, and well, what do? We don't have any. I'm like, he doesn't need a private room. Like we can talk it through. And that's probably the one thing. I'll tell you another funny story, but that's the one thing that is probably regular. It's like, oh, hey, we have this thing coming up with the ombudsman. We have this resident who made this complaint. And I'm like, okay, is it a legitimate complaint? Complaining that you're not in a private room when you want to be as a long-term resident, like, we'll accommodate it if we can, but that's not a right, So that's one that's pretty just ombudsman related stuff.
It did take me a while to realize where the ombudsman stood in the hierarchy of things, right? Because at first I thought that when the ombudsman, it really does, yeah. But at first I thought like when the ombudsman came in, it was like survey, right? Like, oh my goodness, here's this person auditing us, right? But then I started to realize that like the ombudsman is an advocate for the residents, but they're also normally reasonable. And so at least the ones that I've had, like, so they'll come in, and if there is a concern, they'll advocate for them, and they'll flag it and they'll bring it up to, other agencies if needed. But it's not something where it's like this person's going to like look like they're going to be out to get you,
Right.
So, but anyway, you were saying.
They do. Yeah. They have pull with state surveyors, or they have, their voice goes up and is heard. And so you want to be on the right side of the ombudsman office, not the wrong side. But anyway, I had so I don't know what it was like for you in Colorado and California, but my whole time operating in Utah and in the Vegas market and in all these other markets that we're in, when you get an admission from the hospital, you go pick them up, right?
Yeah. Yep.
You pick them up. Either you coordinate your transport driver or you facilitate it with like a third party transport company, right?
Sounds reasonable so far.
Yeah. Yeah, it does. So I get a call from the administrator of a building that we were acquiring like a week later. So we didn't even own it, but I knew the administrator, and I would push him leading up to it, like, hey, agency better be trending down, like where are we at? So I would kind of communicate with him a little bit. But he calls me one day and he's like, hey, so we've got our resident so-and-so, she's at the hospital ready to come back. Like, are you okay if we go pick her up? And one, I'm like, we don't own the building yet. You don't have to ask me these things. But two, I'm like, what do you mean? Are we okay if we go pick her up? Of course. What are you going to do? Make her walk? He's like, no, like we don't pick up the residents. The hospital transports them themselves, which they do, which is a little bit of an eye opener. It was a little bit of an eye opener to me because I'm like, the hospital coordinates and sets up and has their own vans to transport residents to the facility in this kind of small town. So I thought, well, that's kind of nice. Then you don't have to really stress about transport, pay for a stretcher, pay for this third party after hours guy. Sure. They'll just, the hospital do it. So I thought that's cool. But I'm like, yeah, of course. Like, why wouldn't you? Just when I first heard it, not having operated in that market, I thought this has got to be top 3, like dumbest questions I've ever been asked. Of course, go pick up your resident, right? Yeah. But then he gave me some context. I'm like, okay, like, I think it's a pretty easy answer, but I get where you're coming from. I see that. So anyway.
As an administrator, you get dumb questions all day where people are just like coming in. They want to separate themselves from the liability of a decision. And so they'll come in and they'll ask you like, hey, is it okay if like we get a contractor out here to fix the emergency generator? It's like, yeah, like how else are we going to do it? Like, let's go, Yeah.
Yeah, I got you.
Unless you're going to do it,
I think that's a common thing, separating yourself from the liability of any repercussion of that, question. So anyway.
Do you get that quite a bit? Do administrators just call you, hey, just FYI, I'm doing this, have my back if it goes south?
It's not really, I don't interpret it from like a have my back, but I interpret it from like I don't know, like I feel like I've got a good thing with pretty much all my administrators where there's the trust and the autonomy. Yeah. And if it's ever anything that's like iffy, questionable, they'll call me and get my opinion and be like, hey, this is one thing. What do you think? So I kind of have that established, but I do get a lot of FYIs, more of just like, hey, FYI, this, HVAC unit broke down. We got to replace it. I have no other option. You're going to see it on my income statement. Things like that.
Yeah.
So
I feel like that's good communication, right? Giving your boss a heads up, hey, like just FYI, you're going to see 10 grand on my financials. So yeah, okay, I appreciate that. Yeah, and I try and do that with my regional as well. So you do hire a lot of administrators, right? So in terms of and depending on how much turnover, I guess is in a region, but what indicates to you that like somebody's going to be successful in this role?
I mean, I mostly hire AITs.
Yeah.
Administrators, I feel like just in general, like, I don't know, AITs, you get to train and mold the operators that you want. It's like soldiers kind of, right?
Yeah.
If you go and find an administrator, not all the time, there's a lot of good administrators out there, but maybe they have bad habits that they can't break. Maybe a company that they work for has different values and mindset that's just embedded in them. Yeah. That isn't our culture or our style. So I mostly hire AITs, but I think your question, it's the same for both.
Yeah.
For me, I just want like the first word that comes to mind when what I'm looking for is just a dog. Just somebody that is going to get after it, not make excuses. I had an AIT interview once and this guy's like, he was hyping me up. I was like getting just jazzed listening to him, but he was talking about his leadership style and, skilled nursing's hard, right? Like you got to do a lot of hard things. You got to make a lot of hard decisions. And a lot of times it's not something you can just think about and sit on. Like you got to make some quick knee-jerk reaction decisions.
Yeah.
They're going to have good, consequences, good or bad. And so we were just talking about that and how he just thrives in that environment. He's like, you back me into a corner and like, I'll bet on myself 100 out of 100 times to get out of it. Like no one else I'd rather put my money on than myself to get out of it. And I was just like fired up by, so I would just, I mean, as we do, you do interviews and you do these kind of behavioral questions, you do scenarios, how would you react? And a lot of AITs are like, well, that's a good question. I think I would look at all my options and I would pick the best one, and that's what I would do. Things like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But somebody that just, I mean, I don't think anybody comes out in an interview and says, hey, I'm a dog. You want to hire me?
Yeah.
But you can get that feeling of like, yeah, this guy is not going to back down. He's not going to quit. He's going to push through. He's done hard things in his life. I think guys who have done some sort of summer sales, guys who have done church missions, guys who have younger families, or girls who have younger families who've just done hard things, they're just not going to quit when the going
Yeah.
gets tough. And it's inevitably it will. At one point or another, it's going to get really hard and really tough. And you want a bulldog that's going to fight their way through that. So that's what I look for. Just to get after it, not make excuses, find a way, just dog.
Dude, you're getting me fired up. Holy cow.
Those are the guys I like, man.
I love it. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny when you talk about being a dog. You can fake confidence in an interview, but I almost feel like if you fake confidence, I'm still more okay if somebody fakes that confidence in an interview, because like they're at least coming from someplace. You know what I mean?
Something.
Like
they'll get it.
Like, you know what? If you're willing to fake it in this interview, can you fake it for the next 6 months, right? Like as you're like grinding through it. Yeah, that gets me fired up.
Yeah.
What's somebody got to do in a nursing home? Like if they wanted to build that dog mentality, where's the first place to start?
I mean, I think I think any new admin or any admin getting into a new building, I think the first thing you got to do is you really got to understand your staff and your residents. I don't think a lot of administrators out there really realize the level of dedication that they personally have to the residents. Like a lot of it, it's a, for whatever you want to call it, a white collar job. It's an office job. You lead a team and maybe you interact with your team, and you expect your social services director and your nurse management team and your floor staff. Those are the real direct interface with the residents. But I think the guys that are really successful that run 5-star buildings are the ones who have deep connections with the majority of their residents. They make daily connections with 90% of their residents. And then they get the other 10% the next day. So I think somebody who can do that, who can connect with the staff. I'll give you a good example. We were doing an acquisition for a portfolio of 4 or 5 buildings. And it wasn't for me, it was for another region, but I was at one of the buildings just during the announcement. So I walk in, nothing had been announced. They see my stuff and they're like, what's this? Are the rumors true? I go into a room, the IDT's in the room, and we get on a call, and David's on there, and the current operator's on there. And it's the CEO or this owner, not a CEO, an owner, who's been the owner of this company from when it was founded like 50 years ago. And so he's grown this thing. He's been with it from day one, right? He gets up there and he has this little 3x5 card, right? Kind of like a flash card. And he says, thank you to all of the employees of this company for all of your hard work. It's been an amazing 50 years. It was literally 3 sentences. And that was it.
Yeah.
Then he says, okay, now I'm going to turn the time over to David to talk about the new company that's going to be acquiring this company in the coming months, right? In the next month or whatever. And David, no phone, no flashcards, no anything, monologues for like 30 minutes about the legacy that this prior operator is leaving, and it's now our duty as the new company to carry on that legacy and continue to improve and care for its residents in the same way, and like just goes on and on. And anyway, I was in there and I answered questions and everything. And I remember walking out of that room and there was like a couple like CNAs and nurses and like housekeepers kind of anyone who was like in the realm popped into that room to listen to the announcement. And there was like a CNA, I think it was a CNA to another CNA walked out and literally said, hey, I don't know that guy, but I would follow that guy. Like I'd walk through a wall for that guy.
Man.
And I just thought, man, so there's kind of some, like, obviously it was all words. He was on another side of a camera. It wasn't physically doing anything, but the way he like just kind of shared the vision of how we plan to carry on and continue to improve on all the great things the prior company's done like after 20 minutes, the staff who'd never met this guy are like, all right, I will follow that guy wherever he goes. So
Yeah.
that's the kind of like mindset or the mentality of an administrator to its staff and to its residents. Like, do they have a direct vision? Can they connect? Can they get the buy-in? Like, that's a dog to me. And then on the
Yeah.
flip side, that's kind of the beginning. They got to put in the work, right? Are you going to be creative in finding senses, growing your senses, being, creative with recruiting and retention, managing your business in a entrepreneurial way to where you're like, okay, we're getting to point A. I want B, C, D, E. I want to grow this thing. That's a dog
Yeah.
to me.
I know you said it was just words, but like I feel like people take their perception or their like motivation from the leader that they're following.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, obviously I know David as well, so like I know that I would personally run through like a wall for
Me
David.
too. Right.
And like he was one of the first people that I talked to when I was getting into the industry. Like the thing is his words, although he was just saying them, he's like lived it for like
Yeah.
15, 20 years.
Yeah.
He came to my building, dogpile on this, but he came to my building when we were in a tough spot. We were trying to, lead a big time turnaround. And not only was he just like right there with me to like make sure that like things were, going well and he was leading, but even after I had left, he stayed behind and fixed my heater for me, right? Like it wasn't even like he was like doing like something where like he was doing some rah-rah leadership or anything like that. He just stayed there and served, right? So when
Mm-hmm.
he speaks, like you just feel that come through.
Mm-hmm.
And kind of like taking that and bridging that to what you're saying, right? Of actually putting in the work after that. I feel like your words kind of get you so far. And then all of
Mm-hmm.
a sudden, if you start to actually like act and like lead the
Mm-hmm.
charge on patient care, you're going into rooms, you're helping people out, then all of a sudden people start to buy in, right? And you
Yeah.
start to build that culture that you're
Yeah.
looking for.
They start doing harder things than they were willing to do before, and they complain less about doing the harder things.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. I love that. You're starting to lead a little bit more into just this leadership,
Mm-hmm.
concept of what it's like to be a leader in skilled nursing. And I love the topic because I get fired up when it comes to building culture and building
Yeah,
teams
me too.
and leading
Yeah.
teams. Obviously we don't have enough time to go in depth of all your views on this, but what's a hill that you would die on when it comes to leadership?
Yeah, I mean, I think I got into ultimately like why I wanted to get into just operations and business in general. It was for, I want to just work and lead a team, and I want to see staff get from point A to point B, whether that's within the company, a different industry, growth.
Yeah.
The residence was an acquired taste, right? I'd never worked with geriatric folks. I remember one of my first weeks as an AIT was my CNA week, and like the AIT I did, I was a CNA. Like I covered a section pretty well. I took a section where needed, and I did transfers, showered some residents, brief changes, the whole thing. And for a little bit there, I was like, this is me. I'm going off a tangent, but I'll circle back to your question. But I was like, I don't know about this. Like, I don't know if this is what I signed up for. And then I remember one time at the time I had a grandpa who had cancer and kind of, had a hard time caring for himself. And my dad made a comment and was like, think of how little you want to like do those things for the people,
Yeah.
right? Like doing a brief change or giving a shower to a 65 to 75-year-old person. As much as I didn't want to do that, he was like, just think of like grandpa and how much even more he doesn't want to have people do that for him, right? From a dignity standpoint, from like just a self-worth standpoint, like having people do these everyday things for you at a certain point, he wants that even less. And that flipped a switch. I'm like, yeah, you're right. I can handle this. And so that's where I really acquired the resident side of the business. But my number one, my MO is the staff.
Yeah.
I think, the number one thing that I like to do is, I mean, you've probably have done the good to great thing, the principles, right? Do you have the right people on the bus, and are they on the right seats? And I think when you finally get to that point where you have the right people and they're in the right seat, you develop that level of trust. Like my favorite thing, I mean, I don't know if this is necessarily the hill I would die on, but I love it when I get to a point with an employee to where I can hold them to the highest level of accountability. And when they don't meet that expectation and you know, we talk it through, not only are they like, they're not like, man, my boss got mad at me because I didn't do XYZ, but it's more of like they feel like they let me down. That's what
Yeah.
I want, right? There's more stake in the game. There's more skin in the game.
Yeah.
They're more bought into what we're doing when it's not just like, oh, I didn't do my assignments and now my boss is writing me up. It's like I have a level of trust and respect and I let them down and I feel bad about that. That's the level I want to get to. So I
Yeah.
think for me, it's the staff. Like the leadership team is my whole MO. Like if I was the CEO and I was just in charge of direction, calling shots, and somebody else like really worked with the team and it was just me like pushing numbers and making decisions from the top, like I don't know how much I would enjoy doing it because I like
Yeah.
working with the team. I like the team being able to do hard things and buy into the road we're going down.
Yeah. Jake, I want to go back to that because it sounds like it's more than just accountability that you're trying to like build in this person, right? So that like it's more than just feeling accountable to you. It's like almost like building real ownership for them.
Mm-hmm.
Go more into that because I think I have a hard time building that in people. Like I want people to feel accountable to me, but at the same time I want it to be like almost coming from within, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
I want them to own it because they love it. I want them to own it because they want to do a good job. Like
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think that comes from like the leader being genuine and believing in them. And
mhm,
like, I've probably at some point somebody's like failed and I've probably sat them down and said, hey, look, I know you can do better. And deep down, I know that you can do better. Like
yeah.
you can, that mistake that was made, that was a lack of effort, or
Yeah.
it wasn't just you didn't know it happened, you learned from it. It was like you let yourself down in that moment. And I'll even say, I mean, maybe that's me jumping to a conclusion about somebody that it's not like it's my wife or my kids that I know inside and
Yeah.
out. But I feel like if I have that relationship, I can straight up say, you know, deep down, you let yourself down.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so it feels
And
like it's twofold almost on that, where it's like you need to know them well enough that you know that they let themselves down, right?
mhm,
You know that they're capable of more than that. And then on
mhm,
top of that, you know, building that trust with them so that they appreciate your leadership enough that they don't want to let you down. Like
yeah.
yeah,
So there,
that's
I'll give you an example that happened yesterday. I had a social, and obviously I'm in a VP role. There's an administrator between us, but like
yeah,
this team, the building that I work out of was extremely distressed a year and a half ago. And it's come out on the other side, had a great survey. It's got good outcomes, great building. But I bonded with this team almost as if it were my own, right? Me and the administrator alike. And so this guy, we had a pretty adverse outcome yesterday with a resident and social worker, and nothing that he did or didn't do was his fault.
yeah,
The outcome wasn't his fault, but he, maybe he didn't fully update care plans. He didn't fully confirm or ensure that the recommendations of the PASR were being carried out, things like that. There were a couple misses, again, nothing that really caused or led to this adverse outcome. But in his mind, he even called me last night. He's like, hey, I just wanted to apologize for letting you down. And he even said to me, more
yeah,
than that, like, I know I'm better. I let myself down. I can do better.
yeah,
I can be more diligent with this, and this. And that's a perfect example of like, he's bought in. He even said, he's like, I'm going to go audit everything I've done. It wasn't like, hey, I'm going to get to a Monday. He's like, I'm going to come in tomorrow and on Sunday, I'm going to make sure like, if it's got my name stamped on it, like it will be perfect. Like that's the commitment to myself.
yeah,
That's my commitment to you. Didn't have to ask him to do it. He just did it. I'm like, he's on the bus. He's in the right seat. He's
yeah.
bought into the direction we're going. So kind of a
I
cool
love that.
example of that. Yeah.
I love that. Sounds like yeah, it sounds like there's good things coming from that region under some
Yeah.
great leadership if I
Sure.
might add. But
Sure.
Really quick, let's just because we're approaching time here, let's do some rapid fire questions. Best golf course you've ever played?
Pelican Hill, 2 weeks ago.
Pelican Hill with Travis Kelce. Almost
Yep,
played
that's
with
not
him.
why.
Patrick
It
Mahomes.
was great. It was like mountain style course for the front nine, beachside course for the back nine, just pristine condition. It was awesome. So Pelican Hill, number one.
Pelican Hill. All right. Best book for a new administrator to read?
Probably Good to Great, but if we want to just, I mean, that's your cookie cutter administrator book is Good to Great. A book I really like, you should look in. I probably told you about this at one point. Green Lights, Matthew McConaughey.
Green Lights. Okay.
Green Lights. Yeah, it's kind of like it's an autobiography, kind of just about. He talks about red lights versus green lights. Red lights are the things that knock you down. Green lights are the things that keep you going, motivate you. You move forward. It's a good one. I don't know if it's necessarily like industry related, but it's definitely from just a mindset. Yeah. It's a good. Green Lights would be my second behind Good to Great.
Love it. Love it. All right. What about this? Favorite thing a marketer has ever brought you trying to get your time?
It's a good question. I mean, I've had people take me golfing.
There we go.
That counts.
Take you golfing. Love it.
Yep. I'll sit through any sales pitch for a nice round at like Black Desert or Dragon Ridge Country Club or something. I'll sit through a pitch. No problem.
All right. If anybody's out there listening, that's the ticket
to
get some time from Jake. So Jake, it is apparent to me why you are having success and why you're a regional. That was a great conversation, and appreciate you doing it.
You got it, man. Yeah, feel free to invite me back if you need more conversation on the
more Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce stories.
More chat. Yeah, we can go into more stories. I've got, sniff related stuff. We've got some pretty crazy stuff we could dive into at another time if you're up for it.
I'm taking you up on that. Right on, dude.
Sounds
Thanks,
good,
man.
Dude. Okay.
Thanks for listening to this episode of The Nursing Home Operator. If you enjoyed the show, we'd really appreciate it if you'd subscribe, leave a review, drop a comment, or share it with someone in the industry. We're a new podcast, and every bit of support helps us grow. If you'd like to be a guest on the show, suggest a topic, ask a question, or share some feedback, there's a link to our Google form in the podcast description. We'd love to hear from you. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you on the next episode of The Nursing Home Operator.